Well, according to stats from Sparta Science, the NFL said to have $11.9 million in average payroll savings based on athletes' days missed. And as the NFL season kicks off, AI taking on a new role with the software system to help reduce the amount of injuries and strengthen performance for players in leagues, also military members. Joining us now to talk more about this is the CEO of Sparta Science. He's also the founder, Dr. Phil Wagner. Thank you so much for joining us. So, talk to us about how we're sort of seeing technology and AI play more of a role when it comes to athletes and how they perform. How are they using what you guys do?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, or at least concerning, the way we start looking at technology and how it's lagged behind when it comes to injuries. And by injuries, mostly talking about musculoskeletal injuries, such as low back pain, ACLs. They continue to increase. They're the number one health diagnosis. And as most people have probably experienced when it comes to things like diagnostics, or more importantly, rehab, probably the most well-known test is push into my hands. And so we're dealing with a lot of subjectivity around what's going on with the body. And so technology has an incredible role to actually identify and then chart out the best plan to reduce that risk.
Help us understand. When I first heard what your company does, I thought of that movie, the comedy Trainwreck, where the comedian, she puts on this bodysuit, then she runs on a treadmill, and of course it's funny, but there's a computer readout of her body movements and how it actually works. Is that what
Right.
you're doing?
Well, I don't think it's as sci-fi as that. I think really what we're looking at is force patterns, because how you interact with the ground is what's able to identify how you move from a performance standpoint, but more importantly from a risk standpoint. And so that type of movement profile, how you interact and push in the ground, left versus right, heel versus toe, the timing of that is able to predict everything from an ankle sprain to an elbow risk if you're a baseball player.
Well, you talk about helping, I don't know if it's insurance companies or sports teams or even athletes, avoid perhaps some of the injuries with knees. And one of the things you like to talk about is how much money you might be able to save all of us from future knee surgery. Explain that.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the growth of that market of knee injuries is just incredible in terms of how the population is getting older, which is a good thing. People are living longer, but then as a result, we've got more of a breaking down. The cars are operating for a longer period of time. One of the best ways we're able to do that is we look at a balance test, and we look at how the individual moves left to right and heel to toe. And when we start seeing too much of a heel to toe movement, that means the knee stability is really the one that's going to start coming up as an injury risk and eventually a potential replacement for that joint.
Do you think that there's been a lot of press recently about, for example, some athletes retiring at young ages, in part because of the wear and tear that games, particularly football, can take on the body and the brain? Do you see AI going forward helping to mitigate some of that and maybe allow athletes to play longer without seeing as much damage to their bodies?
Yeah, and that's ultimately why I started the company, is I wanted to continue to play as a college football player, but due to injuries, there was no way that was actually going to be able to continue to happen. And we're starting to see that with athletes like Andrew Luck, obviously, or a little bit more recently, Lindsey Vonn, and these individuals that have incredible injury history over years. And it's not the same injury either. And a lot of times that happens because we don't know. The system is broken, meaning the body isn't working in the way it should and compensating in different areas. And as a result, that type of compensation creates new problems. But the chief kind of core issue is we don't have the capability without technology, without AI, to actually find out what the root cause is. And ultimately, it's a financial, result, but it's a human problem to begin with.
Dr. Phil Wagner of Sparta Science, thank you so much.